Welcome to This Explainer. You know, we love taking complex ideas and really breaking them down so you can actually use them in your real life. Today, we're taking the kind of abstract concept of planning and transforming it into 10 super actionable skills. To do this, we're going to follow the completely relatable journey of a guy named Faisal and his family, pulled right from our source material on teaching thinking skills. So let's just dive right in and see how thinking like an architect can totally reshape your day-to-day life.
Okay, here is our cognitive map for the next few minutes. We're looking at 5 easy phases: the blueprint, the surveyor's lens, stress testing, establishing the code, and finally, the master plan. Let's get right into phase 1.
Phase 1. The blueprint. This is all about defining your overarching project and figuring out exactly how to divide it up. So I want you to ask yourself a really direct question right now. What is your life project? Really think about it. This is the exact same question Faisal dropped on his sons when they were sitting down talking about their futures. Every massive structure starts with a vision, right? And our source material calls this fundamental mission your project. It is your core focus.
Now, when his kids turned the question around and asked him, Faisal was super straightforward. He said, my project was building a house, and before that, getting my university degree. Which is such a brilliant way to show that our projects naturally evolve as we get older. Faisal was focused on a degree and house, but his boys? They were all about immediate, age-appropriate stuff. One wanted to get really good at computers. The other wanted to buy a car. Nailing down your project helps you focus your energy. But what do you do when that project just feels way too massive?
Well, that brings us to the skill of division. The son who wanted to master computers, he was totally overwhelmed. He literally told his dad that his project simply couldn't be divided. But Faisal steps in and explains that taking it all on at once is just a fast track to burn out. Instead, he tells him to break it down. First, just master basic office software. Then, and only then, move on to learning the operating system as a totally separate phase.
And the psychology behind this is actually fascinating. Dividing a massive task doesn't just make it logically easier, it literally boosts your satisfaction. You get this constant hit of achievement, it keeps you from getting bored, and it actually ensures higher quality work because you aren't rushing. You're taking your time, and that leads to excellence.
All right, moving on to phase 2, the surveyor's lens. Before we build anything, we need to analyze our environment using a causal map, observation, and deduction.
To really get the causal map, let's look at Fazl's other son, the one who wants the car. Before he even thinks about buying one, Fazl starts hitting him with these highly specific questions, including this kind of random one. Why are car doors designed to open outward instead of upward?
What Faisal is doing here is teaching his son how to build a causal map. This means figuring out the specific reason behind literally every single attribute of a thing. The son gets it right. He says doors that open upward would break way faster. Why use a remote? Well, for ease. Why 4 wheels? For balance. Once you understand the why behind how things are designed, you stop being just a passive consumer. You start making incredibly smart, targeted choices that actually fit what you need.
And this flows right into a simple 2-step process: observation and deduction. Faisal tells this amazing story from his college days. A student noticed that the professor, who picked future judges, was in a wildly different mood on Saturdays compared to Mondays. That right there is step 1, observation. Just noticing those subtle shifts. Because he noticed this, the student navigated his meetings with the professor perfectly, and the professor was so impressed, he actually picked him to be a judge. Step 2 is deduction, which is drawing the hidden truth out of what you observed. Like, if your friend keeps checking their watch, observation is noticing the action. Deduction is realizing they're either in a massive hurry or they're just super bored of your story. Put them together and you can read a room without anyone saying a single word.
Okay, phase 3 is stress testing. We do this by looking backwards to find the true cause of things and looking forwards to anticipate results.
Check out how Faisal uses this in the real world. He's at the market, and he's completely shocked by the sky-high prices. The vendor gives him the classic surface-level excuse, blaming the global economic crisis. But Faisal and another shopper, they don't just buy that. They dig deeper to find the root cause. They start talking about how unfair financial practices like usury or artificially inflating debt are the actual mechanical drivers behind these economic crashes. The takeaway here is absolutely crucial. You have to separate the surface excuse from the true cause if you ever want to actually understand and fix a problem.
On the flip side, we have to look forward. That's anticipating results. So Faisal gets called into school because his son keeps falling asleep in class. The surface issue? The kid is staying up way too late watching sports. But then the school supervisor breaks down the actual results of getting to bed early. Waking up active, not driving your parents crazy, being in a great mood, and actually understanding the lessons. Faisal has a total light bulb moment. Seeing those crystal clear positive results gives him the exact burst of enthusiasm he needs to go home and strictly enforce that bedtime. Anticipating the result turns an annoying chore into something you're genuinely motivated to do.
Which brings us to phase 4, establishing the code. This is where we set the rules for success. And man, Faisal and his wife show off some incredible family dynamics here on how to draft laws that actually work.
So here's the problem. The kids are drinking way too much soda. Faisal's wife has a pretty standard initial reaction. She says, let's just ban it completely, and if they disobey, we severely punish them by cutting their allowance. It's totally relatable, right? But Faisal steps in and shows a much more sophisticated, respectful way to handle it.
He uses this great framework. First, what are the rights of the subjects? Well, the kids have a right to enjoy a nice drink, like fresh juice or tea. Second, what's the actual goal? The goal is just to stop them from drinking unhealthy soda. So, the new law they draft explicitly allows fresh juices and tea, but officially restricts carbonated drinks. His wife gets it immediately. A good law respects the rights of the people while still hitting the main goal. It builds mutual respect and gets actual compliance, rather than just sparking a giant family rebellion.
But then, Faisal's wife fires back with her own stroke of absolute genius, the law of gradualism. She wants the kids to clean their rooms, which, let's be honest, is practically impossible for any parent to enforce. But instead of demanding a spotless room on day 1, she rolls the rule out over 3 weeks. Week 1, just keep the pillows and blankets off the floor. That's it. Week 2, pillows go on top, blankets on the bottom. Week 3, the bed has to be fully made. Easing people into a new rule like this pretty much guarantees long-term success and completely removes that daily screaming match that comes with sudden, strict demands.
Finally, we are breaking ground. We've defined our project, surveyed the landscape, dug up true causes, anticipated our results, and laid down fair laws. Now it's time to bring all of this together into our 5th and final phase, the master plan. Look, planning isn't just some boring corporate buzzword. According to our source material, the plan is the master key. It systematically brings together every single thinking skill we just talked about to actually achieve your project. The payoff? It saves you a ton of time, saves you money, and it is hands down the fastest route to the finish line. Let's look at one last, brilliant example from Faisal's family. Faisal pitches this family project, let's read 50 books in a single year. Now to his son, 50 sounds like an absolutely terrifying impossible number. No way, right? But then they use the skill of division. Faisal says, hey, there are 52 weeks in a year. That is literally just 1 book a week. Then they use alternative planning to save money. Instead of dropping a fortune buying 50 books, they plan a really fun weekly family trip to the public library to borrow them. By systematically applying these exact skills, an impossible mountain of a project becomes a simple, structured, and super enjoyable reality.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this really provocative question straight from the text. Are you living your life by planning or just randomly? By adopting the mindset of an architect, finding your project, breaking it down, finding true causes, and setting up fair, gradual rules, you stop leaving your success up to chance. You upgrade from living by accident to living by design. Thank you so much for joining me, and I really hope you take these 10 skills and start drafting your own master plan today.